Hey everyone, Micah here with EbikeSchool.com, and today we are going to break down the top electric trikes on the market to figure out which one is right for you. I've got 4 different electric trikes here. These are some of the most popular ones out there. Starting over here on your right, this is going to be the Admotor M340. Then we've got the Rad trike, followed by the electric XP trike, and lastly the Unorao trike. We're going to go over all of these trikes, but before we do, I just want to let you know that someone watching this video right now is going to win one of these trikes. So if you want to know which one it is and how that can be you, make sure you stick around to the end of this video. All right, so now let's start comparing these trikes. Let's start by price because I know that's going to be important to everybody. Starting over here with the Admotor M340, we've got a $2,999 trike. Here with the Rad trike, this one is priced at $22.99.
Or at least that was the sale price when I recorded this, but it looks like now Rad has knocked the price down further to $18.99. So because Rad is changing the price so often, you should probably just check their site.
The electric XP trike here is the most affordable at $1,499, and then the Unorao brings it around in the middle at $24.99. Obviously there is a wide range of prices here, and you might be thinking, all right, well the most expensive one is the best and the cheapest one is the cheapest. And while that might work for the money side of things, there's actually a lot of features to look at here, which means you can't just go by price because e-bikes don't always go by price. There's a lot of hidden features here that are important to consider. A lot of it comes down to not just the components that they use, but also how they ride, how it feels, how that power is delivered. We're going to cover all of that here. And I know that me as a young 30-something guy is not the prime market for electric trikes, so my mom has kindly agreed to test out all of these trikes to get a sense of what they're like in someone who's a little more the mass market for these types of e-trikes. And I told her that the one that she likes the best, I'm going to get for her. All right, so now let's break down what we have here. Let's go over the basic specs so that we can sort of compare these on level playing field. And then we're going to go into a little more nitty gritty, what they feel like, how they ride, what are the major differences between these trikes. So on the spec side, let's start with power. Admotor here is listed at 750 watts. Then we've got the Rad trike here, also 750 watts. The electric XP, it's actually rated at 1,092 peak watts, so pretty high peak wattage there. We've talked before about how the exact wattage ratings, they're kind of a bit flexible, you could say, that these numbers aren't always directly comparable, and we're going to talk about that more in a second. And then lastly, bringing up the rear is the Unorao at 500 watts. Now let's talk battery capacity. Over here, we'll start with Admotor that has the highest capacity. You're looking at a 48 volt and 20 amp hour battery, 960 watt hours. Here we've got a smaller battery in the Rad trike. This one is a 48 volt, 10 amp hour pack for 480 watt hours. The electric XP has a 48 volt, 14.5 amp hour pack for 672 watt hours. And then lastly, we've got the Unorao at 48 volt, 12.5 amp hours, which is about 600 watt hours. Now, generally speaking, the range is going to be all over the place. That's why I'm not giving you exact range figures. If you ride these things full power on throttle up a hill, you might get, 20 miles of range. And if you're riding it on low power pedal assist and you're on flat ground and you're a lightweight rider, you might get 50, 60, 70 miles. So range is really variable. It's best to look at the battery capacity to really compare them head to head. Lastly, let's look at the speed of these trikes. They're mostly similar. Admotor M340 over here gets up to about 15 miles an hour. Rad trike 14 miles an hour. Electric XP trike 14. Though the Unorao stands out at 20 miles per hour, which, if you're asking me, is probably too fast, because once you get going that fast on these trikes, if you turn quickly, they get real tippy, something again we're going to talk about in this video. Generally speaking though, 14, 50 miles per hour, that is plenty fast on a trike, and when you're going that fast, it feels a lot faster than that, trust me. Okay, now let's start comparing these things head to head, and I want to start with that power, because it's a little bit more complicated than just looking at the power rating. For example, we said that Unorao has the lowest power here at 500 watts, but I will tell you the 2 trikes here that feel the most powerful are the Unorao and the Admotor. Both of these, when you twist the throttle, that power just drops. And in fact, it is the Admotor that really drops the hammer. This thing will do full burnouts with the front tire when you just give it a little bit of throttle. If you ask me, it is too powerful in that way. It's fun for me, I love slinging gravel around. It's a fun ride, but for most people, the major market, which is going to be older riders, potentially people with mobility issues, to be honest, that trike is too powerful over there. That front hub motor is just so torquey, and they haven't really programmed it to have nice, easy throttle ramping. Kind of same thing with Unorao. It's a little bit more gentle, but still, it really drops the hammer when you turn the throttle. So when it comes to power, both the Rad trike and the electric XP trike here have really nice power delivery. I would say the Rad is the most nicely refined in terms of it comes on really gently. In my opinion, it's a little bit too gently for me just because I like having a little more power right off the bat. But for most of the older riders, people with mobility issues, that sort of thing, this one is probably going to be the most comfortable. But honestly, the XP Trike is just right up there with it in terms of the power comes on very nicely. All of these are going to climb hills just fine. They have good power in that sense, but it is just delivered much nicer in these two. Next, let's compare those motors though. If you look, the Ad motor over here, as well as the Rad Trike, and on the far end, the Unorao over there, they all use front hub motors, whereas the electric XP Trike here technically does use a hub motor, but is mounted in a mid-motor configuration here. What that means is that the 3 Trikes with the hub motors in the front are front-wheel drive, and then the XP Trike here is rear-wheel drive, actually driving both of those rear wheels. In practice, it's not a major difference if you're just on the streets, that sort of thing, but anytime that you get into a little bit of slippery terrain, whether it's just wet out on the asphalt or you're on grass like this, especially wet grass like this, that front hub motor is going to spin a lot more easily and you're going to lose traction. Not a huge deal because you're not going to fall over. It's a trike, you're already on 3 wheels. But if you're going around in dirt or gravel, that sort of thing, you are going to struggle a little bit with that traction, especially with the far 2 bikes there, because they're just so powerful in the front with those really torquey hub motors that have all of that power delivery right at once. The XP Trike here, it just handles a little bit better in the loose stuff because it's got the rear wheel drive and it doesn't lose traction the same way the front hub motors will. Now, that being said, the Rad Trike still does a very good job because it doesn't dump all that power at once. So you're not going to go like slipping out on this thing the way you will on the far 2. Next, let's talk about going off-road. So you can see that some of these have fatter tires, some have narrow tires. The 2 on the ends here, super fat tires. These are 4-inch wide tires. If you come here, we've got a bit narrower tire on the XP Trike, then we've got street tires here on the Rad Trike. You might think that these big, massive tires on the ends are great for off-roading, and they kind of are, but they have another effect. If you come over here and you look at the Ad motor, these massive tires, they're not just 4 inches wide. Up here, we've got a 26-inch tire, so it's a very tall tire. Even in the back here, these are 20s. They're still very big tires. So what that means is it puts the bike up really high. So yeah, it's great to get that traction with these big tires, but you're up so high that the bike starts to feel very tippy in the turns, and that can be disconcerting for a lot of people. I know when my mom got on this one, she definitely felt like it was very tippy. She described it more feeling like, a Suburban or a big SUV, and that, yeah, it's a big vehicle, you can go off-road, whatever, but the rollover on this one, like an SUV, is something you're gonna wanna be careful with. Unorao did a bit better job in terms of having smaller diameter wheels, so the bike does sit a little bit lower, but still it's just so massive. It's such a big bike that it feels like more bulky when you're out there riding around, and it's something that my mom definitely noticed. That brings us back to the Rad Trike and the XP Trike here. Both of these have more street-oriented tires. The XPs here are a little bit knobbier, so you can do a little bit more traction-y off-roading. In fact, when I was testing this one out in Phoenix, I was doing some pretty serious off-roading on it. The Rad Trike, it doesn't do as well off-road, but to be honest, it still handles its own. I mean, you're not going to be taking these things on super technical terrain, so as long as you're being, fairly careful with it, you can do grass, you can do dirt, you can do nature trails, that sort of thing. The nice thing about having a 3-wheeled vehicle is you don't really have to worry about traction in the turns as much, because it's not like you're going to slip out the tires and fall over, right? Next, that brings us to stability, talking about falling over. Now, when it comes to stability, there is one trike here that is the absolute best at this. It is the Rad Trike. This thing is designed so well in terms of having such a wide rear back here that it is so hard to tip it. It is a really well-built trike in that sense. The smaller wheels, 18 inches, they keep the center of gravity nice and low. They keep you spread apart so you have a wide footprint here, and it's just really nicely designed. I would say next comes the electric XP Trike. It's a little bit tippier than the Rad Trike. It doesn't have quite a wide rear end if you compare the two. You can see that the Rad Trike is definitely wider, but still it sits a bit lower and it feels a bit more stable. As I mentioned, the Ad motor over here, super fun, big off-roading tires, big powerful motor, but also super tippy in the turns, so you gotta be careful. And the Unorao kind of brings it somewhere in the middle there. It does keep you lower, but it's not the most stable of a ride. Next, let's talk about included accessories, because this is important. All of these bikes are set up the way they came, stock, standard, with the small exception of the XP Trike. I did upgrade the saddle. It came with a sort of normal comfort wide cruiser saddle, and I updated to the even more comfortable seat back saddle. So that's the only difference here from standard. I will say though that When I got it, it was part of the pre-order shipment, and they came with the cargo package. So you can see the front basket here in the rear. I think they don't include the cargo package anymore standard, so that might be something you now have to pay for, whereas in that first batch that I got, it was a included accessory. So let's talk about included accessories. Over here on Admotor, they do a really great job. You get the front basket, you get the rear basket, you even get a bag to go in the rear basket so that you can enclose things in here. I don't know how waterproof it is. It does have a waterproof style zipper, but I wouldn't leave it out in the rain. And you get the nice comfort seat. So a lot going on here. Rad, you guys are killing me. They don't give you anything standard, with the exception of they do have the nice comfort seat with the backrest. That's the way the trike comes. But if you want a front basket, you gotta add it. If you want a rear basket, you gotta add it. If you want that Rad trailer, you gotta add it. Now, I will say, great accessories. Rad really does a good job. I think they probably have the best accessories out of any e-bike company. They've really invested developing those, but you gotta buy all of the accessories you want because it comes just basically bare bones. Next, we've got the Electric XP trike here. Like I mentioned, I think now it no longer comes with the comfort package, so you gotta add that, which is a bit annoying. Sorry about the plane up there. I will say though, because it's only priced at $14.99, it definitely gives you more room in your budget to add those kinds of things that you want to add. Lastly, let's look at Unorao. Again, great job Unorao. Comes with the front basket, comes with the rear basket, nice wooden bottom to the rear basket, which I really like. And the only downside here is that it comes with a normal sort of cruiser style seat, though it is very comfortable, so I can't really ding them too much there. One weird thing about the accessories here is that even though these all come with fenders, for some reason Unorao went with these like Model T style flat fenders, and you know, they work all right, but they don't work as well as a fender that actually wraps around the tire and sort of catches more of that water spray, mud, rocks, whatever the tires are throwing up at you. So a bit of an odd choice there. Next, let's talk folding. You can see that some of these are folding trikes. The Electric XP trike, folding. The Unorao, folding. Rad, not technically folding in the center, but it does come apart if you have an Allen key with you into two pieces, so you can more easily put it in a vehicle. All three of these are going to have folding handlebars. So right here, the handlebars fold down. Same with Electric XP trike and the Unorao. The nice thing about folding handlebars is that if you are just going to pick it up and put it in a, where's the safety here? Each one of these is different. If you're going to put it in like an SUV or a minivan, you can fold these handlebars down, and it's much shorter. It'll just slide right in there. You don't have to, you know, unbolt anything or take handlebars off. They just fold down. So that is a really nice feature to have. Next, let's talk brakes. To me, this is really important, not just from a braking power standpoint, but I really like hydraulic brakes because they're just a very low maintenance solution. If you look, we've got mechanical brakes here on the front of the Rad trike. On the back, we've got a coaster brake, which is nice in that you just pedal backwards. It brakes. It's kind of like when you were a kid and you had a 20-inch bike or a trike, that sort of thing, that you don't really have to worry about adjusting this thing. It always works. Here on the Admotor, we've got mechanical disc brakes front and rear. Because they're mechanicals, you are eventually gonna have to start messing with those brake cables and adjusting those. Next on the XP trike here, they gave us hydraulic brakes, which I really love. Again, it's just a very low maintenance solution. They are stronger. That's not the real benefit here. You're not going that fast anyways, but I really like that you're not gonna have to adjust these all the time the way you do with mechanical brakes. Back here on the Unorao, again, we're at mechanical brakes. They work fine, you know, nothing against them, but I just prefer the higher quality hydraulic brakes. It is nice that they were able to include parking brakes on the hydraulic brakes on the Electric XP. I think that's important on a trike because there's no kickstand to sort of dig into the ground. So if you do park on a hill, the trike's gonna roll away if you don't have a parking brake. Rad here also has a parking brake, as does the Unorao here. Unoraos are basically the same type of parking brake, but they're just a little bit more tricky to unlatch, I've found, because they aren't spring loaded the way the others are. Admotor here, there's no parking brake, and this one does roll away from me sometimes when I park it on a hill. So those are the major differences in these trikes. I would say the Admotor is perhaps the most fun. It's got those big tires and it is the most powerful off the line, but I would not recommend this one for someone who isn't experienced at riding bikes and trikes and is able to handle both the power and the tippiness of the less than stable ride. The Rad trike here is probably the most refined bike here. It is very nicely designed, even, you know, small notes like the way that the rear hub here is covered with this molded plastic covering. It keeps that chain and the sprocket in the back from throwing oil or debris or anything, and really, you know, grass or anything getting in on that chain and the hub assembly. So just a really nicely designed bike, extra wide, extra low, keeps the center of gravity low. I'm really excited about this one because I think it's just very nicely designed. Electric XP Trike here, the major sort of defining characteristic here is value. $1,499, great price, but you're getting so much for that. You're getting the nice two-wheel rear drive, you're getting hydraulic brakes, it's plenty powerful. Originally it had the cargo kit, which was a huge value added thing here. Even without it though, there's a lot to like about this trike. The fact that it folds up to fit easily in a car, SUV, anything. I'm really excited about this one as well because of the value. I will say, not as nicely engineered as the Rad trike. This one, you know, my hat's off to the Rad team. They really started from scratch and built something very incredibly well designed here, but just incredible value at this point. Lastly, Unoral, again, kind of comes in the middle here. The price is a bit higher, $2,500, so it ties the Rad trike. It'll give you more power off the line, which I do like, and I do enjoy these fat tires when we're really out on this sort of rutted terrain, but it's just not as highly refined. It doesn't have the hydraulic disc brakes. The throttle is not as nicely programmed for the ramping. So plenty of good options here. Obviously, it just comes down to which one is right for you based on those different types of features. Now, I mentioned that someone was going to win one of these trikes for free. I am going to be giving away the Electric XP trike. Big thank you to Electric E-Bikes for helping me sponsor this giveaway. The way this is going to work, it's part of my eBikes for Good program I started, where basically at the end of all of my videos, I give away one free e-bike to someone in need. If that sounds like you, then I want you to enter. Go to EbikeSchool.com/ebikesforgood. Tell me your story. Maybe you got laid off and you need a bike to get around to your new employment. Maybe you need an e-bike to get back into shape, but you can't afford one. However you are down on your luck and an e-bike could help you, let me know. Out of all of the deserving entries, the winner will be randomly selected and announced at the end of my next video. So if you think that you could use the Electric XP trike, that it would be a big improvement in your life, but it's just out of reach for you financially, please go to EbikeSchool.com/ebikesforgood, enter there, and I hope to get it out to you.
And now to announce the winner of the e-bike from the giveaway in my last video, Kyle N, or actually Kyle's dad, who Kyle entered on his behalf because he has some health issues that means he needs an e-bike to pull his trailer full of tools for work. You, sir, have a very loving son who just won you an e-bike to help with work.
Last but not least, before we go, it is time to announce the winner of the giveaway for my last video, and the randomly selected commenter is
David Jones.
So congratulations, just let me know which one of my books you'd like. You can choose from DIY Lithium Batteries, DIY Solar Power, The Ultimate Do-It-Yourself E-Bike Guide, or my latest book, The Electric Bike Manifesto. And anybody else who wants a chance to win one of my books for free, all you have to do is put a comment down below. You can say anything you'd like, and hopefully you'll be the randomly selected commenter at the end of my next video. And if you don't want to wait that long to hopefully win one of my books for free, you can always find them on Amazon. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time. Oh, and if you're wondering which trike my mom ultimately chose, she went with the Rad trike. See you, everybody.